G'day legends, guess what we're making today? British scones. And don't you hate it when people call them scones? There is a lot of controversy around, one, how to make them, two, the ingredients that you put in them, and also whether you serve them with whipped cream or clotted cream. And then the other big controversy is, do you put jam first and then cream? Or are you one of those radical cream first and then the jam on top? Either way, I still like you. What you'll notice here is I'm making actually 2 batches of scones. Now, the interesting thing is there's some recipes that you can actually take all of these ingredients, double them, put them in the mixer, and you'll be fine. That is not the case with this recipe. One of the reasons why this one doesn't work by just simply doubling all the ingredients is that you'll see when it comes out of the mixer, the actual ingredients are quite wet. Let's now combine all the dry ingredients. So put the baking powder in with the sugar and the flour, put that aside. I like to sift 3 times. That way all the ingredients pretty much get nicely incorporated. I'm in a cloud of dust here. This would be a great time to make sure that you put on the oven, which I just did. The temperature for this recipe is 425 degrees. So I've set the oven at 450. I always like to start the oven off 25 degrees higher than I actually need for the recipe. That way when I open up the oven and I lose 25 degrees, it's no big deal. And this is particularly important with scones because they have a very short cook time. I think these cook in 8 to 12 minutes. They're going to rise really quickly. So this is very important to make sure that you, one, have the oven at the right temperature, and secondly, that you don't think about opening that oven door until you've got to at least 8 minutes. Okay, this recipe requires 75 grams of butter. That's just over about 6 tablespoons of butter, cut into squares, because now what we're going to do is we're going to cream the butter. This is slightly chilled, but mostly pretty close to room temperature. This doesn't have to be terribly exact, just get it into some nice squares. The nice thing about cooking, if it doesn't work, it's not terminal. Using the whisk attachment, put that on low. And what that's going to do is that's going to massage the butter into the flour. I normally do this for about a minute. And what you end up with is a sort of a sandy type texture. I'm using setting number 2 on my KitchenAid. Whilst that is doing its little business, I'm going to start working on the wet ingredient. If you're wondering how long I do this for, about 1.5 to 2 minutes to incorporate all the butter into the flour and the dry ingredients. That's looking good. See, there shouldn't be butter caught on the end of the whisk. The thing with the scone recipe is the biggest mistake most people make is they overwork the dough. And that is a critical mistake. Okay, what I'm going to do now is combine all the wet ingredients. So what I like to do is this recipe requires 2 eggs, combine it into the milk. What I do is give them a light whisk. You're not making scrambled eggs here, so go gentle. Don't over whisk. The measure of whether you're done is whether all the egg drops off the end. There you go. Perfect. Now what you do is you take 2 tablespoons of this liquid, put it aside, because what we're going to do is we're going to use that at the end to paint the tops of the scones so that they turn out nice and brown. What we're going to do is we're going to combine the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients, and you do so relatively quickly because you do not want to overdo the mixing of this batter. Okay, it's time to change the whisk to the dough hook. The next step is to pour the egg and the milk mixture into the flour. I have messed up so many batches when the only thing I did was the amount of mixing time. So what I'm going to do is just with the spatula is just manually coat flour nicely incorporated. How you doing? I've had my KitchenAid, I don't know, for 25 years. So the dough has been mixed to what I consider to be about 80% where it needs to be. Okay, legends. So here's the dilemma. When you try to get the rind off an orange or a lemon, you got so many choices. I think I have the largest collection of graters. My trusty one. I don't know. This one, I love it the most. I use it the most. In case you're wondering, yes, I did actually wash all the fruit before I actually put it out. Now the last step is to take the 2 tablespoons of orange that we grated and put them into the mixture. Go slow. See, if I waited until the very end when this was all done, then I'd be over mixing the mixture. So it's a good idea to, at 80%, stop. What I'm doing is just distributing all of that orange throughout the mixture. Make sure there's no dried bits. So all I'm doing is incorporating those. Sometimes in baking, it's finessing that makes a big difference. Get off there. That's it. Don't be scared. You're going into a nice warm oven. There are a couple of tips, and these are really, really worthwhile following. A lot of people complain about the fact that their scones don't rise enough, or they rise too much, or they rise on one side and look like the Leaning Tower of scones. One of the reasons for that is how you handle this dough from here on in. So here we have the boiling water. Now, bake time for scones is very fast, somewhere between 8 to 12 minutes. So all you need is a couple of inches of this boiling water in the oven. So I'm going to go put it in now so that the humidity can build up. Scones bake at 425 degrees, so it's quite high. So that's why it bakes really, really quickly. So you either get the rise in the first 5 minutes or it ain't happening. You've got to follow these instructions closely. I've screwed this up so many times thinking, how can that make any difference? Trust me, it makes a big difference. Step number 1 is grab one of these nifty things and lay down a generous layer of flour. Next thing you need to do is have one of these, which is a fluted edge, see there, for your scones, as opposed to a smooth edge. The problem with the smooth edge is that there's too much surface area, and this is a sticky dough. And so with a sticky dough, it actually makes it very difficult to actually remove. So that's important. So this is about 2.5-inch fluted cookie cutter. So one thing that you should do is have a bowl of flour. And what you do is just dip the fluted edge in to coat it, nicely with some flour. Think, how important is that? You'll see in a second. The next thing you'll need is one of these that's calibrated. And what I like to do is I like to roll my scones to 1 inch before I put them in the oven. That way they rise. When you cut them in half, you get 2 nice size halves. Here is another tip. I have 2 rollers here. That guy and this guy. Which one do you think I'm going to use? If you said the marble one, you'd be wrong. This boy weighs 4.5 pounds. Out of here. It's far too heavy. I mean, if you just put that roller on the dough, it'll sink all the way to the bottom. This wooden one, just over 1 pound. So this is the guy we're going to use. Take one of these. You fold yourself some parchment paper. There you go. And you're going to put the scones on top. Very important to flour this board, otherwise all you'll do is this will stick. Not good. Hands and do the top. Now, don't overdo the top, and I'll show you why in a second. Grab this. Very nice. Make it a nice round ball. I flip it over. I mean, just basically using the weight of the roller. I mean, that's quite literally all I'm doing. One direction, the other direction. Quick measurement. Yep. Dunk it in the flour, straight down, then up. Dunk it in the flour, straight down, and then up. It's very exact on this occasion. Right, nice. And to be honest, the real reason why I measure this is because if it turns out different than I thought, and I didn't measure it, then I'm always wondering, well, maybe I did this, maybe I did that. Have you noticed I don't touch the sides? Gently underneath, lay it down gently. All right, so blend this together. And if you've actually rolled it too thin, what you do is just cup your hands around the outside and press lightly. See? And she rises beautifully. And this be the lucky last. See, now this one, it'll be an orphan. That's the wastage. Not bad. I don't like to use the same brush for my baking as I do for my marinade for my steak or my chicken or whatever the case is. So I always use these. The little one I use for liquid and the big one I use for dry. So what I'm going to do is very lightly, I'm just holding it basically in my fingertips, like that. Don't have to remove all of the flour. Just gently take off whatever excess flour there is. Now, remember earlier on when we were talking about putting a little bit of that egg wash mixture aside? Here's why. The smaller of the two brushes, which is the one that I use for liquids, dunk it into this. Note I'm pressing the liquid inside this container, not on the scones. Okay, so wipe off any excess, and now lightly just paint the tops. Don't let any of the of this egg wash run down the side. It's on the top. If you don't have a little bit of flour on you, you haven't had fun. Well, that's my motto, and I'm sticking to it. It's interesting, you can see the little flakes of or bits of orange rind coming through. Looks lovely. Well done to the British for inventing scones. To all my pommy friends, I love you. Only when I beat you in the rugby and the cricket, I love you even more. World Cup, don't mention the World Cup. Damn, that was a good game. For my American followers, we're talking about rugby, the Rugby World Cup. South Africa were the champions. In South Africa, rugby is a religion. Everywhere else is just a sport. This work is done. Note, none of them are touching, but they are close, and that's good. Remember, these rise up, not out. Oh, that's what they're supposed to do. Okay, legends, about to put these in the oven. All right, now we set the timer. Okay, so what you need to do is at about 8 minutes, set your timer, you rotate those pans, not a minute or a second before 8 minutes, because too early in the process, those scones will not rise, or they will rise, and then as soon as you open up the oven, 5 minutes to go. I'm like an expecting father. It's exciting, isn't it? 4 minutes. Get the cloth ready. Okay, I'm getting ready to remove them from the oven. We got 3 minutes to go. Okay, 2 minutes to go. Love my oven. She's been very kind to me. Cooked a lot of meals, a lot of fond memories. So whilst I'm waiting, is about a minute to go. Got these cooling racks. All right, 8 minutes are up. Let's get them out and rotate. Oh, 25 seconds to go. Let's check these out. The alarm is going to go off in about 20 seconds. Now this part you don't have to rush, so I'm going to be a little bit slower and more thoughtful about it. I'll bring them out, I'll fill them here. It's too hard for me to figure out how to grab that, open up this, not burn myself, and not drop my scones. Dangerous work. There you go. Okay, they need, I can tell already, they look beautiful, but they're still Need a little bit of browning. So here's a perfect example. In total, that's 12 minutes. I still think it needs another 2 minutes. So I'm going to set another 2 minutes. I wish I had my family living next door to me. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? I miss my kids. I'm going to be visiting them shortly. Can't wait. And for my sister in Australia, Junior, I love you. She's going to be visiting me shortly. In October, I'm having a mini family reunion in Chicago. My sister's coming to that. There you go. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, yeah. There you go. See, nice and brown. Now, if I'm going to be super critical, you see the flour around the edges. Kind of overdid it a bit. That's all right. It'll brush off. But you can see there's not one that's flopped. I'll take that brush off the surplus flour. Try to remove as much of that flour. See, bottoms are brown. I can tell they're nice and fluffy. This has been fun. Hope you have enjoyed watching. I've enjoyed making them for you. So our yield, 18 near perfect scones. Very happy with how they turned out. If you look carefully, you can actually see the little flecks of orange peel that we grated and put in here. Oh yeah, very subtle, but it makes all the difference. Now what time is it? It is 5:18, and if I have a scone now, which is what I really, really want to do, I so badly want to have one, then my dinner gets ruined. So I'm going to be good. I'm going to wait until tomorrow. Anyway, I hope you had fun. I had fun. Tomorrow morning I'll do the taste test. About to have a cup of coffee and one of these beautiful British scones that I made yesterday. Pick your middle spot. It's about there. There you go. And gently just holding both sides. Perfection. Oh yeah, very nice. Are we going cream first and then jam? Or are we doing jam first and then cream? What's your choice? What's your favorite? Ah, fresh new jar. Just for you, legend. Spoiling you. Well, actually spoiling me. I like about a teaspoon. All the way out to the edges. Life's too short not to have good coverage. Would you agree with me? There we are. You can see the real fruit. Oh yeah. And I like to see the little bit of jam poking out the side. There you go. So put that aside. Yeah, I could lick it. I know. You would lick it. Feeling in a generous mood. And I don't like mine to look too sculptured, to be honest. Look at you. I've always subscribed to the thought that we eat with our eyes first. So that's why I think presentation is very important. It can double the deliciousness. Cheers. Wow. I don't actually ever put any sugar inside my whipped cream. I want to actually taste the jam and the cream. A lot of the recipes that I've tried along the way, one of the things that I was disappointed with was the aftertaste of sort of like a bicarb, the soda, the baking powder. This particular recipe, get none of that. And that's important when you're eating these without the cream and the jam. Okay, legends, it's that time of the day. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have the opportunity to like, subscribe, and please place a comment. Appreciate your support. Make some scones. Make someone happy. And remember, always, always bake in 3 batches. 1 to eat, 1 to keep, and 1 to give away. All the best.